And we're back. The last two videos I started off by asking the several students what they got when they answered this problem. Several people in this class didn't answer the problem because they didn't want to use the things they've learned. They just wanted to complain. So that's fine. We're going to go over it. You're going to watch as we go over it, so that when I give you one in a moment, you'll be able to do it. The whole point of asking you to try it on your own was to see if you would without quitting. See if you had some moxie, some stick-to-itness, some trying. But alas, many of us did not. So, Maddie, can I add these two fractions the way they're currently written? No. They do not have a common denominator. Luckily, we have learned how to find the least common denominator. Brooks, what are my denominators of these two fractions?
6 and 5.
6 and 5. So I'm going to go and find the least common multiple of 6 and 5. The least common multiple of 6 and 5. Brooks, when you have it, please tell me.
Okay. This is LCD.
JJ, you're not writing any of this down, so in a moment when I give you this assignment, you're not going to be able to do it. I'm just saying. Let me know when you found it, Brooks. Now, fortunately, your math teacher has allowed you the use of a multiplication chart. There's a pencil on the floor underneath this chair over here. I don't know if it's yours or not, but use it now so you can work. You got it, Brooks?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
30.
30 as the least common multiple is correct, Brooks. 30, if I listed my multiples here, of 5 and of 6, the least common multiple is 30. That makes my least common denominator 30. Every single one of you know how to do that. Right? Every single one of you learned how to find equivalent fractions, because we did that several times last week. Specifically, the paper that asked, what is a math teacher's favorite day of the week? And the answer was, it's Tuesday, because it's the only one named after a number. So funny. So funny.
It's 2. Oh.
So now, without changing the value, we have to change 2/6 into something over 30. So Brooks, what do I multiply by 6 to get 30? Good. I'm going to multiply by 5. Well, since I want my fraction, or I want to multiply by 1, so that I don't change the value, I'm changing the way it's written, but not the value. 5/5 equals 1. So Brooks, now my numerator is going to be whatever 2 times 5 is, which is?
5?
Yeah. 10. Mr. Shockley, you writing all this down? So that you have it when I give you one to do in a moment? We need to do the same thing with 1/5. We need to change 1/5 into something over 30 so that we do not change the value. So miracle. What am I going to multiply here times 1/5 so it'll give me a denominator of 30? 6/6. Good. And 1 times 6 is what, Miracle? 6. So now I know that 2/6 is equivalent to 10/30ths. And I know that 1/5 is equivalent to 6/30ths. And I know if I were to look at journals, I would see where you've written this down so that you have this to use in your journal so that when we move on and do other work, you have this to refer back to. So now, between Brooks and Miracle, we have now changed these fractions so that they have a common denominator. Mia, what does step 1 that you glued into your journal say?
Make sure the bottom numbers, the denominators, are the same.
Good. Make sure the denominators are the same. I'm not taking questions right now. Well, I'm asking questions, not taking questions. Okay, what is it?
Can I go?
That's a question. That's a question. You can't say it's not a question. Can I? And then that means the sentence will end in a question. All right, so according to what Mia said, make sure they have a common denominator. And these do. The same denominator. It is 30 for both of them. Mia, what is step 2?
Add the top numbers and numerators. Put the answer over the denominator.
Good. It says add the numerators, which are 10 and 6. So Mia, what's the sum of 10 and 6? 10 plus 6.
16.
16. Then it said leave the denominator the same. Once we got to this point where they had the same denominator, this is all stuff you learned in the past. You learned how to add fractions with like denominators in the past. So now we have 16/30ths. We have 16/30ths. Truett, what does step 3 say?
Simplify the fraction if needed.
Good. Simplify the fraction if needed. Now we talked about simplifying fractions the last 2 weeks. And to do that, we had to find the greatest common factor. So we had to find the GCF of the numerator and the denominator. So in a moment, when I call on somebody to tell me the factors of 16 and the factors of 30, they will be able to do so. So Justin, you had a question earlier. Let me ask you a question. Justin, what are the factors of 16?
32.
Nope, those are multiples.
Is 8 and 2.
Good. 2 times 8?
1 and 16.
1 and 16.
4 and 4.
4 and 4. What else? That's it. Krista, what about the factors for 30?
5 and 6.
5 and 6.
3 and 10.
3 and 10.
And 30 and 1.
30 and 1. Let's use our divisibility rules. Is it an even number? Yes. That means it's divisible by 2. So 2 times what? 15. All that stuff that I've been teaching you all comes back to help us every day. Matthew, what do they have in common? What factors do they have in common?
1, 2,
That's it. So what is my greatest common factor, Matthew? 2. Rainey, once I have found my greatest common factor, what do I do then?
you do 16 16/30 divided by 2 2s.
Good. I divide both the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. I divide both the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor. Chase Hope. 16 divided by 2 gives me what? 8. 30 divided by 2 gives me what? 15. The answer to 2 6 plus 1/5 is 8/15. 8/15. Let's ask a really tricky question here. Cadence. Is 8/15 less than or greater than a half? Greater than a half. Because 8 is more than half of 15. So this answer is greater than a half. A lot greater than a half or just a little greater than a half? Just a little greater than a half. Very good. Because half of 15 would be 7.5 or 7.5. Okay, I'm going to put another one up there. Now that you've written down the steps, for those of you that did, and I put the next one up, I probably won't hear, "This makes no sense." That almost sounded like Grover, didn't it?
No.
Near,
Yeah.
far. Near, far. Let's do 1/2 plus 3/4. So solve this. I'll stop the video if you're watching at home, plus pause. Solve it, and we'll see how we're doing. Yes, I'm sending these videos home so everybody can hear when I tell Courtney what a good job she's doing, or hear when I say, "You're doing a bad job. Get to work. Stop messing around." So I hope all those names came through clearly so that you heard them. And we're back. Shockley, can I add these two fractions the way they are currently written? Why not?
The denominators
The denominators
aren't the same.
are not the same. So we need to find the least common denominator. Shockley, what are my denominators?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. Riley, what is my least common denominator? Where's 2? They got to be the first one in both rows. 8. Not 8. There's a smaller one. 4. So my least common denominator is 4, which means I need to change both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 4. Kate, what do I do with 1/2 to make it have a denominator of 4? Multiply it by what? 2 2's good. 2 over 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. Anytime the numerator and denominator are the same, then it equals 1. What's my numerator? 2. So 1/2 equals 2/4. 3/4 is already 3/4. We add 2/4 plus 3/4 is what? So let's call on Sophia. 2/4 plus 3/4. 5/4. And what kind of fraction is 5/4? Rainey? It is an improper fraction. Nope, improper. Now what's going to happen as we move on later through this week, you're going to get an opportunity to create a foldable that shows you how to change improper fractions to mixed numbers. They will be in the menu, and you'll be asked to do that sometime later this week, possibly Thursday. But so for right now, we'll leave the answer as 5/4. If you could change it to 1 1/4, that's fine. That's fine, but we're going to go through all the steps and learn how to do that later this week. Boom! Shakalaka! Peace out! God bless! Love ya! Be kind!